back to ISC Studios. This is part 2 of our August edition of Coffee with Scott. We're going to be tuning back into Ruby and Scott's conversation about life in and outside of work. Without further ado, Ruby, back to you.
Now, for my next question, can you tell us why it's important to live in the moment?
I think one of the most special parts of the crossing that we did was just the almost unique opportunity to live in the moment. I can tell you that when we were on board and we ran in 3-hour shifts, and life kind of ran in 3-hour increments when we were on board at night, daytime, whenever it was. You really just, all you were concerned about was the present and what do I need to do right now? Are there storm clouds on the horizon? Are there ships I need to be looking out for? What is happening right now? And I realized how rare of an opportunity that is, because you're always worried about what I got to do tomorrow, what's happening at the office, or bills I got to pay, what happened yesterday, how could I have done it better, what have you. And it was just this really almost Zen-like opportunity to live in the now. And there's a lot of thought around that, and how important that is and so forth. And I can tell you, it really was special, and it's hard to replicate that when you have the internet and you're tied to a desk or what have you. But out there was no communication. We had a little GPS thing so we could send short text messages, and I had a meteorologist who was sending us weather reports once a day. But other than that, we were there. We were on our own. We were out of sight, especially once we got off the shore of Florida towards the Caribbean, where if we had an issue, it was up to us to figure it out. And it just really was a kind of a very cool time in life to be able to just focus on the now. And I definitely encourage everybody to find a way to do that, whether it's meditation or just relaxation, what have you. But it was really, really special.
Well, you know what they say, today is a gift, that's why it's called the present. Now, is there any other lessons that you learned on your sailing trip that you want to share with the viewers today?
So one of the life lessons, if you will, about doing the crossing, I think has to do with perspective. So it was me and 3 buddies of mine that we sailed the first leg together from Pensacola, Florida, down to Marathon in the Keys. And we were all in the same, 34.5-foot sailboat. So we all had the same exact experience in terms of the heeling of the boat, the wind and the waves and the sounds, the motions, the whole experience. We were all there together with exactly the same situation. But while me, it was a time of my life. It was like literally a bucket list experience. It's amazing. One of my good buddies, crew members, somebody I'd die for, he just absolutely couldn't stand it. And I think it had to do with his perspective, right? Because I remember there's these things called jack lines when you're doing a crossing like this. You have this line that runs forward and aft all the way from the stem to the stern, and you clip yourself in. It was my rule that I was the captain, and if you're on board at night, you have to wear your life vest and you have to be clipped onto the boat. So if something, God forbid, happens, big wave hits, you go overboard, we can hopefully reel you back in. And so this friend of mine, he visualized going over the side of the boat and being dragged along the water. And so that was his perspective. And he kind of freaked out about that. And I'll always remember this. I was laying down in the berth when I was off my shift one time, and I had this sudden fear of running into a cargo ship at night, because that is one of the biggest concerns out there, right? We have this thing called AIS, which is auto identification system, so they can see me. We didn't have radar on the boat, but that was a pretty good safety feature. And you're always scanning the horizon at night, looking for lights to indicate an oncoming vessel. But I kind of had this fear come over me. I'm like, look, man, you just can't think that way. You got to think positively. And so I did, and I shut that off, and it was fine the rest of the way. And my friend, bless his heart, we made it down to Marathon, Florida, and I found out from another one of my crew members later that he told him at one point I would pay $10,000 if the Coast Guard would come here right now and get me off this GD boat. So clearly he didn't have the best of times. I think he would look back on it today with some bit of introspection and probably have a little bit of different, more romantic view of the journey. But yeah, it was hard for him, and it's not for everybody. And I just think that it tells you a lot of this comes into play, whether it's golfing. God, I can tell you there are days that you just think you don't know how to play, and there are other days you feel like Tiger Woods. But anyway, just having the right perspective on life definitely can make all the difference. And I'm happy to report we made it safely and we're still friends today.
Well, glad you made it back, and that's a really great perspective that you shared there. Now, before you go, tell us about the second half of your trip.
So yeah, the next leg, we started from Marathon, Florida. I did this leg with two of my buddies. So obviously the one guy that wanted the Coast Guard to come save him didn't come back. But we left about a month later, headed 1,200 miles around the tip of Florida, up the Gulf Stream, through the Providence Channel in the Bahamas. And we weren't necessarily planning to stop, but we did so. We were getting beat up pretty bad. And we ended up going to San Salvador in the Bahamas, which is where Christopher Columbus first landed. Stayed a couple days there, and it was really an amazing time. Beautiful people, only a couple hundred residents on the island, so it's they all knew when we arrived in a sailboat. We were the first sailboat that had been there in 2 or 3 years. It's a big fishing area. There was some rich guy from Texas that flew in and met his fishing charter down there where we were at. So it's a very cool place. But anyway, so we were looking at all the computer models, and we were trying to decide wind and weather and waves, which way we're going to go. And we'd pretty much concluded we were going to take a direct route down there. They call it the Thorny Patch. But you're staying close to all the different islands. My insurance policy actually didn't allow me to go more than 200 miles offshore. So we're okay, we'll just go the more direct route. We'll maybe stop along the way somewhere, Turks and Caicos or Dominican Republic. You don't want to get too close to Haiti. There's pirates and stuff out there, but whatever. So right before we're leaving, I get a message from the meteorologist that I'd hired, who was a great, comforting factor when, he says he should be at this longitude and latitude by this time. He's following us along every day. And so it gave me real comfort to have this guy helping us out. And I messaged him and said, okay, we decided to go to the Thorny Patch and, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh dear, was the word, I think the quote he said. He said, I had no idea you were going to do that. He said, you're going to get beat up. It's going to be directly into the wind and waves, which wasn't what we saw on the map. But anyway, he was recommending we go the other route, which it's a route where you go north and then you go just dead straight across the ocean until you're over the Virgin Islands and you drop south. And the issue with that was that we knew we were going to have a 3-day calm where there wasn't going to be any wind at all. So we're a sailboat, of course, but we have a diesel motor. So we're like, okay, well, let's look at that. So I ultimately made the call that we were going to go the northern route and not take the Thorny Patch. And my number one crewmate, he disagreed with that. He went along with it because, there was order on a boat and I was the captain, so it was my decision. But he didn't think it was the right call at the time. May or may not have been. I think it was, and I'll tell you why. So we go north, we go across, everybody watching back at home, because we do that GPS thing, they could see, like, where are these guys going? They're going the wrong way, but you go up kind of towards Bermuda and then across. So we get out, we're 400 miles offshore, and dead calm. I mean, the sea was a pool table. I mean, there's no sea life out there. There's no birds out there. You're so far offshore. Literally the closest human being on Earth, well, not on Earth, but the closest human beings to us were on the International Space Station, 289 miles above the Earth. We're that far out, right? So something happens, you're on your own. Nobody's coming to rescue you. You got to figure it out. So here we are. We're motoring along in this dead calm, and all of a sudden the engine sputters and it shuts off. And we're like, uh-oh. So my two guys, Gene and Marcus, they're just phenomenal. I'd sail anywhere in the world with these guys. They start taking the engine apart. They clean the fuel filters. Looks like we got some sediment in our diesel fuel. We'd refiltered there in San Salvador. Got some bad gas. So put her back together, fired up, it starts again. Woohoo, we're on our way. 30 minutes later, boom, 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 sputters out again, it dies. Oh no, this isn't good. So they do the same thing, they clean it again, clean it really good. We're trying to start it. The starter starts smoking, it's overheating. We're like, okay, we've got one more shot at this. We're gonna let it sit for an hour and rest. If it doesn't start, we've probably blown our starter, and we're just gonna have to drift until the wind kicks in a couple more days, and we'll go wherever we can get. We're gonna, maybe we can make it as far as Puerto Rico, whatever. We'll get to where we can safely, and then we'll, hail somebody to come tow us in the rest of the way or whatever, get the engine fixed, and then, that'll be that. We will have made it as far as we could. So, we waited that hour. It was a long hour, pretty tense. My buddy that wanted to go the southern route was like, "Yeah, you sure we made the right color?" He didn't say that, but I could tell he was thinking that. And honestly, said some prayers like, "Please God, let this thing fire up." Did, and it started, and we never turned it off the rest of the way down. It made it, and we got there safely, thank God. And so we come in to Red Hook, St. Thomas. It's about 5 o'clock in the morning. We made it. We arrived. We tie up to the fuel dock. We have a celebratory beer on the dock. So you don't really drink or anything when you're at sail. It's just, I took movies on Netflix and stuff. Never watched any of them. Like I say, we're just really in that moment, living. And anyway, so we get on the dock in St. Thomas. We're having this beer, 5:30 in the morning or whatever. And my friend looks up and he goes, "Oh my God!" And there are these metal shrouds that hold the mast in place. They're affixed to the mast, they're affixed to the deck, and one of them had frayed to the point it was literally hanging by a thread. And so if that had gone, if we had gone the thorny patch and had the rougher wind and waves, it wouldn't have made it. And it's by the grace of God that we did make it without it going down and becoming dismasted and having a real incident. Like I mentioned earlier, we had bolt cutters. We were prepared for that kind of eventuality, but that's where people can really get hurt. Something could go horribly wrong. And so, I feel like God, somebody was looking out for us on that trip, and I believe that it's all part of the big picture. He wanted us to make it for some reason, to continue my life's work, and whatever that means, and raise my daughter. And I'm very grateful we made it. Looking back on it, I look at it. It was just a complete bucket list thing to do. I don't know that I would do it again, especially in a small boat like that. One like this guy, this is a lot bigger. Be easier. But anyway, it really was a unique and special time in my life. I'm thankful I was able to make it back and to tell the story. And we'll see. Maybe we'll do it again sometime. I don't know, but it was certainly a fun thing to do, and to be able to live in the moment, to contemplate life and higher powers and all that. There's just no replication for that.
Well, thank you so much, Scott, for taking time out of your vacation to tune in with us and answer a few questions. And thank you guys so much for watching this special edition of Coffee with Scott. We will be back again next month with another episode, and make sure to like and subscribe.